All right, so this video is 5.2 part 2. So we are simplifying trig expressions, or actually I think we're verifying trig expressions. So it's 5.2 part 2, so it's the second part of it. So sometimes I call that 5.2b for part 2. And what they're saying is the book has decided to pull out this thing and say it's a powerful simplification technique. They use the word powerful, pretty big deal. And they're showing you just this. They're saying, hey, look for that in the red circle. Look for that. And then know how to do it. They're showing you just how to do that one step that I think at this point, if you've been in my class or watched the last 3 videos, you've probably done it a whole bunch of times already at this point. Maybe 10 times, who knows, possibly. So they're just showing you, hey, don't forget about this. I'm just giving you some algebra help to remind you about this type of thing. 1 over 1 minus the square root of x. And we'd multiply by 1 plus the square root of x. They're trying to remind you of this idea. And it comes out nice, 1 minus x on the bottom when you do this. Okay? So that's what that's all about. So we don't really need to talk about it. I just wanted to pull it and make sure I was being clear about it, because I remember when I gave the quiz last year, I remember that being one of the bigger problems, to not know what to do in that situation. Okay, so take a look at the left side and the right side. Which side do you think is less simplified? The right side. And guess what you need to do on the right side? Conjugate, conjugate, conjugate. Yes, we're back to the conjugate. So let's use our fancy calligraphy pen, and we'll multiply by 1 plus sine of x and 1 plus sine of x on the top and bottom, which is really multiplying by 1, yeah? The bottom, I've seen so many of these now that I'm kind of like, okay, well, I already know what this is, and I don't really show the foiling, the first, outer, inner, last, the distributing. I'm going to leave the top alone because my point is I wasn't trying to fix the top. I was trying to fix the bottom. And potentially I'll need to distribute that cosine, but potentially I won't. Possibly I don't need to do anything with that. So this is going to hopefully eventually someday equal secant of x plus tangent of x. Someday that will happen. So 1 minus sine squared of x, I want you to recognize that as what? What is 1 minus sine squared of x? Cosine squared of x. So we'll circle it in red and we'll make it cosine squared of x on the bottom. I'm going to leave alone the top for now. And do you see why it might have been smart to not distribute the cosine of x? Why was it maybe a good choice? Potentially. Yeah, you can cancel out the cosine. And you're noticing that what we're doing now is basically what we did in the last section, just with one side of the equation. I think this section's easier because it tells you what the end result is, right? Just don't cross the midline, right? So I want to talk about something that you can't do right now. So I want to preface this by saying what I'm about to write down, don't write it down. You can't do this. Just be careful that you're not like, hey, I'm going to multiply by cosine squared of x and boom, cancel. I'm going to multiply this by cosine squared of x. You can't do that. You cannot do that. Okay? Not allowed to do that because you can't be working both sides at the same time. Got to work on one side. So you can't add to both sides. You can't divide by both sides. So I'm just making sure, just in case we weren't clear on that. Okay. So I'm going to cancel out a cosine on the bottom and a cosine in the top, which leaves me with a pretty simplified thing. It leaves me with secant x tangent of x. Secant x tangent of x, I did nothing over there, equals 1 plus sine of x over cosine of x. Now, how many terms are there on the left side? Although I didn't write it down, right? How many terms are there on the left side? 2 terms. How many terms are there on the right side? Kind of 1 right now. Kind of 1. But we're going to move, we can make it into 2 very easily, correct? It's kind of 1 because it's all together. We call this 1 term, I think. I personally would call it 1 term. I think it's debatable. But what I'm trying to say is that I don't want this to be 1. I want this to be 1 over cosine of x. So this is called partial fractions. In the future, you'll do something called partial fractions, which is where you split something out of a common denominator. You undo a common denominator. This is not quite partial fractions, but it's about the idea of it. So I just did the opposite of a common denominator in a way, although it's still common, but partial fractions would actually go another level on this. So now I've undone that connection part, and what I have here is this guy, which is actually secant of x, and then I have this guy, I don't know, orange, which is actually tangent of x. Okay, I don't know if it's orange. It looks kind of orange. It's not orange. It's like, I think it's like a leafy color. You know, red to you. Wow, so some people are saying brown, some people are saying red. I'm saying burnt to a crisp orange. That's my opinion. Okay? That's my belief. Okay? So anyways, now we have the same thing on the left and the right. So we're going to put a little check mark and we're going to say we're done. Now the reason I'm going to skip the checkpoint is in the interest of time so that we get through everything and we don't have to roll into Monday, for this group to have to do, more notes when I just want you to review. So go back to the checkpoint when you have some time, but you'll find it's very similar to the example and it's also very similar to the last section. Lastly, there is a situation where you work on one side, then you stop, and then you work on the other side, and you hope they match at the end. So which side do you think I'm going to start working on? Where do I focus my energy on when I think about these? And you should too. The left side, the denominator on the left is what I don't like. That is my red flag. So I will go 1 plus cosecant, 1 minus cosecant. Whoa, that was a big eraser, guys. 1 minus cosecant of x. 1 minus cosecant of x here. Now, from there, I know that the bottom is going to be 1 minus cosecant squared of x, and that's underneath this cotangent squared. I'm just going to change the order if that's okay with you. Times 1 minus cosecant of x. Okay. I didn't do anything over here. 1 minus sine of x. You'll notice that I change everything to x all the time because it's easier to write. Just stay consistent. Don't mix them, okay? So what I've done is I kind of violated that already, so these should all be x's, right? Technically. I should be doing this every time, but I'm not. Okay, so we keep going. And we look at the left side, and we say the red, I recognize it. I recognize this. You probably know it better than me. What is that? 1 minus cosecant. Yeah, it's negative cotangent, isn't it? Yep. Now, in the previous class, I messed that up. What do you think I wrote? I wrote cotangent. Yep, that's right. And one of my friends there, he caught it. He said, that's actually negative cotangent squared. So be careful, because if I was a betting man, I would say that that's probably where you're going to make your mistake on the quiz, If you got a lot of it down, that's a place where you might make a mistake. Okay, so we get cotangent squared x here. I'm glad I didn't distribute that in this sense, because I could always distribute later, but it's harder to go back, I guess, in a way. I can't cancel the negative, but I can cancel that. So I actually have negative 1 plus cosecant of x here. And in my opinion, that's actually okay for now. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, in the interest of saving paper, I'm going to keep working on the right side on those two spaces. You see what I'm saying? Or I could just copy it down and go lower and lower and lower, but you know what I'm saying? I'm working on one side. Now I'm switching to the other side, okay? So right now, at this moment, we're switching from the left side to the right side. We're not working on both sides at the same time. We're now switching from the left side to the right side, because I think the left side's pretty simple. This is one term. I'm going to break this into two terms. I'm going to break this into 1 over sine of x minus sine of x over sine of x. And that is actually, this is cosecant of x. And this is now negative 1. And we don't exactly have the same thing on both sides, but could you see how it's quite close? Quite close. So we end up with, as a final answer, cosecant of x minus 1 equals cosecant of x minus 1. Check. Okay? So that's where we're at. We also could try this checkpoint in a moment, but I just want to see if there's one more I have to do or not. I don't think I have to, but I just want to make sure that I don't skip over something I should. No, I think we're okay. So I would have you pause the video, give this problem a try. I am going to just not talk and work out the answer, so you can keep playing the video, or you can pause it, and the answer will appear in just a moment. So either pause it or just play it, and I'll stop talking. So I'm muting my mic now.